But the main thing you can do, or we can all do, money talks.
Money talks.
Money talks. We don't need to be stomping around London every month doing protests. We don't need to be trying to fight the police, and shouting and screaming at each other
Yeah.
about this religion and that race and that gender and that sexuality and this belief and that belief, because they're all division tactics anyway to distract us from what we should be doing. That would
Yeah,
actually
and I
get us
also
out.
just feel like, I understand like why things like protests are so good and, outreach, etc. But I feel like there's a limit to it. I feel
Mhm.
like, once, twice.
Three times a lady.
But if it's something that's going on regularly and there's not really been anything happening on the back of it, like there's no effect to
Mm,
it, then is there a point in continuing when that energy and
mm,
time could be better spent elsewhere and doing other
mm,
things? Which is why I say outreach is okay. I think because I think there are a lot of people out there who don't know, and I think a
mm.
lot of people that if they did know would probably feel better about doing something
Yeah.
about what they know if they knew people that also
Mm,
were awake to these kind of things. Because I think that was one of the things that we saw a lot of people were really happy to just meet other people who like
yeah.
knew what was going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
aside from that, I don't really think there's much benefit to it because this country don't care. Like the government doesn't care. They will just air you. They will ignore you, and they will carry on. They'll
Mm,
carry on what they're doing. It's not nothing like that is ever going to work. No plan,
yeah.
no protest will ever in this country have an effect on the government. They still went to war in
Yeah.
Iraq, for God's sakes, and that protest was
And that was the biggest
huge.
protest of all time until what, 2021?
Yeah, so it has no effect,
Yeah.
and I think the government in this country, the government's going to do what the government's going to do. It's not like Iceland where they didn't like what the bankers were doing, or what the president was doing, and they
It's
went and
like put them in prison.
yeah, they kicked him out, and
Yeah.
and that's what happens in those countries. But it's not. It doesn't happen over here. It's not the sort of thing that would ever happen over here. And you can hope and pray and dream about that happening, but the reality is, I don't think it's going to happen.
This is the thing. Let's say tomorrow half the country went into a mass, call it violent protest, if you will, but an aggressive protest where we would storm Parliament, stormed all the government buildings, took everyone out of office. Who do you replace the government with? Who do you put as leader of the UK? Whoever it's going to be, you're going to get the same problem.
Exactly. And it's not to say that like the government should be demolished. It's just that it's a cycle that has been created in such a clever way that
Hmm.
it's constantly ongoing, and it's such a large part of the fabric of society and the fabric
Yeah.
of how things work in this country that there's not really much you can do about it
Mm.
other than think of ways to get out of it, think of ways to make your life easier, think
Yeah.
of where you put your money, and have effect of it in that way.
Yeah. The key is
Focus on what you need to do and how you can make your life better, as opposed to trying to fix them or change
yeah,
them.
and yeah, perfect. Say it again. Say it louder.
Focus on what you can do to make your life better, as opposed to focusing on them.
And why is that?
Because you can't change them, but you can change you. You can change what your life looks like. You can change what you do with your life, but you can't change the government.
Go for it.